Welcome to episode 7 of 4-Shot Podcast, where we discuss all things HCS and some things Halo. As always, I am your host Phelan, and with me, as always, I have my co-pilot Phade.
Hey guys.
How are you doing tonight, Phade? I know you've been moving. I hope
Yeah.
all is well.
Yeah, it was a rough week for me. Barely got a chance to tune into the Sunday Cup, but the rest of the week was just packing, cleaning, moving, unloading the truck. Lots of boxes. Lower back hurt for a while, but everything's good now. So
Are you in your living room right now, or is this a study?
no, it's a living room. As the camera zooms in, but the way we have it set up is there's like an entertainment system here on the wall. TV is actually back that way on a different wall, and it's kind of like my little gaming spot. So
And for any of you
rather
that
than
may
have
be
my own
listening on
little
iTunes,
personal office.
go to YouTube.
Yeah, that too.
I'll probably just cut this part out of the iTunes feed.
Okay.
Anyways, I guess we should move in to Halo-related news, as that is why we are here.
I suppose.
Jumping off into current rosters, I think the only notable change to talk about is Noble making a roster change. In that
Did they?
they dropped nemmasist and have added Contra.
Okay. When did this happen?
This was announced either late last night or today. I can't remember exactly when I read
Okay.
it. A lot of people seemed surprised that Nemesis was the one who was dropped. They were kind of expecting Lifestyle, or I think that was his name, Lifestyle, something like that. They're expecting him to be the one who was dropped. But, who knows, what the problem was, what maybe communication issues. I don't know. I'm not on the team, and Noble doesn't stream, so I haven't had a chance to really see what's been going on with them. But yeah, Contra is officially on Noble. It is transfer period 2, I believe. According to the transfer periods, May 17th to May 23rd is transfer period 2, but it also says after Cup number 4. So, I don't know. I'm going to just assume that it is transfer period 2, and that's why the change came through with Noble.
Yeah, I think that they're just going by the dates because the cup numbers are a little shaky, subject to change.
For sure. What does this improve Noble? Are we gonna finally start seeing some competitiveness out of them, or?
It depends. I mean, it's probably an improvement. He's placed in the top 8 before, playing with OpTic and with WinterFox. So it's probably an improvement, but you never actually know because part of the reason why Noble did well, or likely a reason why, is because they all had good chemistry together. So it depends. If Contra fits with them and has good chemistry with them, then yeah, it's an improvement. Otherwise, it may not be. And they may end up doing worse.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know Nemesis all that well. Contra was on a top team previously, so I would guess that it's an improvement as far as individual skill goes. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens when it comes down to teamwork and if that's going to add to their ability to push up there. Because as of right now, it seems like they've been struggling in the last couple cups for being
Yeah,
the seventh seed.
they haven't done as well as a lot of people would have thought.
I mean, to be honest, I wasn't expecting all that much coming in, and I was kind of,
No,
I mean, I know they had
but
this previous seed from last season, or not last season, but the cups, the preseason cups, and all that. But I don't know.
well, and their top 8 finish at Atlanta.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I'm not surprised that they're doing poorly, but if they want to remain up there, they got to do something about it. So.
Yeah, and I think that's what it comes down to is, they've had 2 straight round 1 losses. So it's, I guess, they feel like they need to make a change to keep them in that top 8 because right now it's getting down to the wire. It's getting close. There's a couple teams that are tied for that 7th seed. And then, Annex, Active Rush, and Reality Check aren't that far behind. So if they don't place well in the next couple of events, then it's going to be a real big uphill battle for them.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Moving on then to, let's see, we don't have an amateur team of the week due to Phade having moved, as we mentioned earlier. He's been a busy boy.
I apologize, everyone. Slacking on my duties there. But I am planning to get in contact with the Averse guys from, or Averse eSports, the guys from that team. I've talked to one of them actually before he even joined the team, Gunplex. So I'll probably get in touch with him for next week, and you guys can look forward to that.
And for this week, we will talk about, for the amateur team, we will talk about Team Phelan. I am a solo team, team of 1. I'm looking to break into the legendary bracket.
How'd you do in the Open Cup?
As a team of 1, I did phenomenal. I was the best one-person team out there.
Wow, that's impressive. Well done.
All right, moving into Online Cup 1. Nothing really exciting happened here. I didn't get a chance to see it. I had to go visit my father. He recently had surgery, so I had to kind of help him out a little bit. So I kind of missed all of Saturday's Online Cups and just kept track of it as the bracket updated. And like I said, for the most part, your big name teams, Reality Check, Liquid, Active Rush, Averse, a team that you mentioned earlier, they all kind of made it through, no problem. But some of the teams that we saw last week and some notable teams didn't make it and seemed to struggle. Element 6, who we mentioned last week, seem to be in a rough patch right now. They didn't make it again. Darwin's Theory, who did make it last week, seemed to struggle. And Vex, who also made it last week, seemed to struggle again this, or not again, but seemed to struggle this week. And so the top 8 that end up moving on are Reality Check, Liquid, Velocity, SNK Esports, Averse Esports, Active Rush, Nevo Esports, I'm not really sure how they want that pronounced, and Vanquish Halo are the top 8 that end up moving on to the legendary bracket.
Yeah, well, the other one that didn't make it that has a lot recently is the Sunset Ballers.
I don't think they competed. At least
did they not play?
I'll open up the thing right now, but I don't remember seeing their name.
Maybe they didn't.
I'm not sure
on that, but
this,
okay.
And I don't think Annex competed this week either.
Yeah, I don't believe Annex could. I think they had the stuff going on with. We mentioned it briefly. It was Tragic, that used to be on Reality Check, and then apparently played under a different gamer tag with Annex. Is what the Suddoth were saying. So maybe that's why they didn't play, is because they had some problems going with that, or that happened with that. I'm not sure. Maybe they just couldn't work it out, but they didn't play.
Yeah, and so, yeah, but Sunset doesn't look like they played. And like I said, I mentioned earlier, Vex ended up losing first round, but they played Averse first round, so that was kind of an unfortunate seeding, I guess. Let's see.
Yeah, the one thing here that, we kind of talked about a lot was that it was going to be a real uphill battle for Liquid and Active Rush with those low seeds, but because some of the teams that made it last week didn't, like with Vex and Darwin's Theory and stuff, and then Annex and Sunset Ballers not participating, it made it so that they didn't have to play EG or Denial in the first round and gave them the chance to have the upset that we'll get to later. But so that's something that we didn't fully consider, that it might not be, or it won't be the same 8 teams that come out of the Open every time. And so it's not as terrible of a thing as we originally thought. I'd still like to see them finish the Open for seeding, but I get why they want to reward those with points.
Yeah, like I said, yeah, you were right. We didn't take into account that teams would change. We kind of assumed that every week it would more or less be the same top 8 getting through, but a bunch of new teams this week that I've never heard of before, with Nevo, SNK, Vanquish, are 3 teams I've never even heard of up to this point, all made it into the legendary bracket. So if this is something we're going to see every week, and if you're an open team out there, an open bracket type team out there, and you're listening to this, there were only 32 teams in the open bracket to begin with, which means you only have to win, was it 2 rounds?
2 matches.
Yeah, you only have to win 2 rounds to make it to the legendary side. So there is no reason to not compete. If you have a team and you think you're good, just sign up. And if you do poorly, it happens. It just gives you more motivation to practice. But yeah, everyone should get out there and start playing. And like I said, it's as of right now, it's 2 rounds of matches to get to the legendary, which is not much at all.
That's not bad.
So then, let's see, moving into the legendary side of the bracket, starting in the round of 16, some of the notable games I have listed here was Reality Check versus Excellence. Once again, no one broadcasted the Excellence game, so I have no idea what the score was or anything, but I do know Excellence ends up winning this match, which...
Did the Suddoth not stream it?
No, they were not streaming, and Excellence once again wasn't streaming. It was another time I didn't get to see the match when I was hoping to see it, and so I have no idea what the game score was. If I had to take a shot, I would say 3-0, 3-1, something in that ballpark, but I don't know for sure. What I do know is that Excellence wins and moves on.
Yeah, and it really seems like Excellence is I don't want to say solidifying themselves, but they're definitely like making a strong case for them to be solidly within the top 8. So
for sure, we'll mention them a little later as they progress through the tournament. But yeah, they definitely seem like a strong team right now and a team that's doing well. The second game that I wanted to point out was CLG versus LethuL. CLG is down an Ogre, and Clutch is subbing as Ogre 2 is on vacations, kind of ish, in Hawaii for his brother's wedding. So CLG is without Ogre 2 for 3 weeks. I don't know.
Three total. I think 2 more.
Okay, yeah.
Or 3 total cups.
So
that's Ogre 1. His brother Ogre 1. For those that aren't aware, so his former teammate, final boss there, and Halo legend Ogre 1 back in the States, not the mainland, but the States for the first time in 4 years.
Yeah, I saw the tweet out that it's the first time he's seen his brother since 2012 or something like that, and it's the first time he's gonna get to see his nephew, and it's unfortunate that he has to leave in the middle of a season, but if you're gonna have an excuse to have to miss some Halo, this is probably a good one.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then for those not aware, Clutch, that's in the Clutch is the full tag. And he's from the 2009 National Championship roster, Believe the Hype, and was on the, I believe, just Believe the Hype in most iterations for a while. The 2009 roster, that was with MaNiaC and Demon D, and who was their fourth in that?
I am not sure off the top of my head. I would have to do some.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure who the fourth was, but yeah, the 2009 National Championship roster from MLG, and so that's Clutch. Been around since Halo 3, really. I probably played in Halo 2, but he wasn't really big on the scene. But yeah, so he's a quality player, but been out of the game for a little bit too. He hasn't participated in either of this season, so big shoe to fill, stepping up for Ogre 2, and as you can see, they ended up losing 3-1 to LethuL, and it wasn't enough, that substitution. So
yeah, and the games were somewhat close. So a couple of them towards the end, at least games 3 and 4 were definitely really close games between the two. And this, we kind of mentioned earlier that LethuL kind of caught a little bit of a break with the amateur teams not performing. Some of the amateur teams not performing as well as they did previously. And I would say this is kind of another lucky break that they caught, getting matched up against an incomplete CLG roster the first round. It allows them to get through to the next round, start earning some more points to hopefully boost them up, which ultimately it does. But, it kind of seemed like maybe things are lining up LethuL, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely. A couple of good breaks for them, but it does look like they have the talent and the ability to beat any team. I say any team, I would still hold out on saying that they're going to beat Denial or EG, and they did end up losing to EG. So had they had to match EG again in round 1, it's a good chance that they could have lost and been in the same position again next week. But that's not what happened, so which is good for them, and we should see them at least with a top 9 seed. We'll get into that a little bit later, but yeah,
yeah, I don't see them beating.
They took advantage of their opportunity, and that's really what success is when preparation meets opportunity, and then you seize it.
Yeah, I don't see them beating EG or Denial. I would say 9 out of 10 times they would lose that series, but if the game types line up in their favor, I think they always have a chance. It's just gonna, most of
Yeah,
the time no, but
eventually.
there's always that chance. I think they could, at least based off of some of the scrims I've seen. When they have, when they Liquid scrimmed EG, at least they can at least compete, which is good. Moving on to another notable match was C9 versus Active Rush. Active Rush being the new roster of Prototype, Straight Sick, SneakEbeaver, and Frosty. They end up upsetting Cloud9 3-2 in a fairly huge upset, in my opinion. It was a fairly close match, close games, close match. Active Rush wins 3-2. Cloud9 just looked off. That's really what it comes down to. They just looked off in general. They weren't clicking as a team. I'm not sure if they just hadn't practiced or what was up, but something was ajar for them.
Yeah, it is an upset. Active Rush, good roster, but it is Cloud9 and it is 4 very experienced players on that team who are extremely talented. So it is a big upset, and just like with Liquid, it is really helping them with those seeds coming into it so that they're not having to continuously make those big upsets, at least early in the tournaments. And they can have, I say an easy, but like an easier matchup of like an OpTic or Excellence or Noble or something like that. Or CLG could potentially be an easier matchup for now because they've struggled the last couple weeks. But no, it is a big match for Active Rush, and they stepped up and delivered when a lot of people had questions of them. So
For sure. And then the last one that I want to talk about that wasn't a complete blowout was WinterFox versus Nevo or Nevo eSports. Like I said, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. But Nevo took the first game off of them. It was kind of surprising. I'm not, it's not a roster I'm familiar with or a team I'm familiar with at all, but they were able to take the first game off WinterFox. That being said, WinterFox seemed to, similar to Cloud9, seemed to kind of have an off tournament. And just weren't on top of their game. But, anytime one of these amateur teams can take a game off a pro team, it's something worth noting.
no, and it shows potential. It shows that they have the potential to win a series. Because if you win one game, you can win multiple games. You can. Not saying the likelihood's there, or like a high likely, a high chance. Words are hard after all this moving, but but no, it does show that there's the potential there, and especially if any of the other games are close. A couple kills here or there, one big play goes one way, and it can really change a series. So, but just picking up one game, it probably gives a lot of confidence to we'll go with Nevo, and gives them the puts them in a mindset that hey, we can play with these guys and we can challenge for them every week. So, it does give me like. It makes me think that they're going to come back again and make it into the legendary bracket and potentially have an upset. Maybe not against WinterFox or another big team, but there's always the chance. And it's not just like a guarantee write-off win for any team. So, and I think it's nice to see when those amateur teams are really making the teams work for it. And winning the game one, it probably WinterFox is like, whoa, I guess we got to take this one seriously type of deal.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Like I said, the rest of the round of 16 were all 3-0 blowouts. They weren't all that important to really mention. EG ends up advancing. Denial advances. Noble advances.
Did Denial win that or actually play that match?
Who was this one against?
Well, I've heard conflicting stories that Denial didn't play any matches aside from the final.
No, they played this one, I believe.
Oh, they did?
They played it against Velocity in round 1, and if I remember correctly, they played this one, and then the next 2 are the ones where they had problems, but
okay,
we can look at that. So then moving into the round of 8, first up we have EG versus Excellence. We mentioned Excellence earlier being a strong team. EG ends up winning 3-1, but once again, Excellence plays another top team super tough. They end up taking a game off of them, which is always big. None of the matches were blowouts. They were, they've hung in there, and they've proven now that against Denial and EG, the number 1 and number 2 team, they are able to at least take a game off of them. And like you mentioned, if you could take one, there's the chance of taking more.
No, exactly, and just like what I said earlier, it really does show that they're solidifying themselves as one of those top teams, and they're definitely after last week. There's no way any team is going to take them like lightly. I know that EG, especially after EG lost to WinterFox last week, that they were coming out determined to win. They don't like to lose twice, and so the fact that Excellence could still take a game off them really does show how good Excellence is, and that these teams, all the teams, really need to be prepared for them because if they're not on their game, Excellence can step up and take that from them.
For sure. We'll get into Excellence a little more when they hit the consolation round. But for now, next up we had Denial versus Noble. As you kind of alluded to earlier, Denial ends up winning the series on a forfeit as Noble has internet issues, similar to what some of the players were experiencing last week. And Denial ends up moving on, and I don't even believe they got a game in this time. It was just a straight-up forfeit for them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, again, it's sad to see. Hopefully, a lot of the pros and non-pro, or I guess technically Noble players are pros, that these guys are taking the precautions and the necessary steps to make sure that they can't have these internet problems again. You know, changing their IPs and using a client other than Skype for their communication or something.
yeah, you'd figure after last week, seeing all the problems, everyone would have had it figured out, but it looks like not everyone did their homework, so to speak. The third game here, we have Active Rush versus OpTic. This was a super close match. OpTic ends up winning 3-2.
I think it took longer than a football game.
I'm not. It took a long time. Between you figure Active Rush won 3-2 and then had to play another 2-3 series, so they played two, full best of fives coming into this, and they had been just playing for a long time at that point. And I know this match had some internet problems for a little while, but they end up getting it in all the way, and OpTic ends up taking the series 3-2, which.
Yeah, just to note, Active Rush took the first two game types, so OpTic was down 2-0 and ended up pulling it back. So. Active Rush was very, very close to taking that series. And with that, if they did, they'd be in the top four with
Liquid.
With Liquid, yeah. And really, yeah, I guess, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it just goes to Active Rush, Liquid. These are very talented teams with very experienced players. And it took a very strong. It was a strong comeback from OpTic to be able to pull it back and win that in advance. So, I mean, I guess I want to give props to both teams. Active Rush for playing them very hard, and OpTic for having the willpower and determination and everything, mental fortitude to come back and win that series, especially when they've had problems in the last couple weeks and in tournaments in general, the LANs as well. So I guess props to both teams, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think this is kind of a good indication of whereabout we see Active Rush being right now in terms of talent and ranking up against other teams is going to be hovering right around that 6-7 spot.
Yeah, I think so.
The last game of round 8 then was WinterFox versus Liquid, and Liquid ends up 3-0 in WinterFox. Like I said before, WinterFox seemed to just be off and struggling, and Liquid pretty much just dominated the whole series. And I'm not sure what was up with WinterFox other than just, one of those days maybe. After last week, I thought they were going to be a contender every week, but maybe they're one of those teams that are going to be streaky, which can always be good and bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't get to see it, unfortunately, so I can't comment too much on how the actual series went. Obviously, 3-0 is pretty telling, but just in general, I mean, like we've been saying, it shows that Liquid is a top team and that they can place in the top 4, and potentially higher. So.
Yeah.
I don't know if WinterFox is probably off. I don't see a 3-0 being common. If they played 10 times, I would expect that one game would or one series would be finish 3-0, and I bet WinterFox wins 7 of them, and Liquid wins 3, maybe 6 and 4, maybe they're around in that. But I think WinterFox is still probably the better team. But Liquid obviously has the chance to win, and in this case, dominate. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect, like you said, 3-0, and we'll have to wait till they play again, which, you know, to kind of see what happened. And maybe, just this coming up week, we'll get a better look at WinterFox and try to, figure out what they are. Are they going to be the top team? They won, so to speak, last week's online cup, and then this week they got bounced early. So it'll be interesting to see what the real WinterFox is.
Yeah, and what the real Active Rush and Liquid are. This is the second time they've competed. The first time they both lost early, but it'll be interesting to see if they can repeat the success and everything, and if this is how strong they are. And actually, the one thing I just realized, I don't think we mentioned that Liquid is the other guys from last week. The new sponsor, Team Liquid, coming in. That's the Ninja, Aries, Spartan, and Shooter team. I don't think we mentioned that.
I can't remember when the name change came down, if it came down right
Yeah.
before last week or
Well,
not.
well, they played as the other guys for the last tournament. So.
Yeah, but I think I thought the name change came like on that Monday right afterwards. But
I
yeah,
see what you're
I,
saying.
I can't remember when we last talked about it. So
But anyway, yeah, Team Liquid, huge organization, especially in
League
the
of
StarCraft
Legends.
scene and
Oh,
the
and League of
League of Legends.
Legends. I think their League
Yeah,
of
and the
Legends
League
team
of
just got
Legends.
disbanded. Actually, now that I think about it.
Okay, but yeah, it originally came from StarCraft. They had like huge, like it's like a corporation in Korea and stuff for those players. Um, but yeah, so very big organization coming into Halo, and it just goes to show that um, these organizations do feel like there's a future for HCS with Halo 2 Anniversary, but realistically with Halo 5, and that they're expecting big things from that. So it's always good to see even more of these organizations coming in. How long until Fnatic is in, and some of the others. So
I've
look
seen
forward to seeing.
postings before that Fnatic is interested. It just
Yeah,
seems like they're, you
finding
know,
the right team.
yeah, trying to find the right players to get together. Um, Moving into the semifinals then. First up, we have EG versus Liquid. EG ends up winning this 3-1 in a fairly straightforward match. Liquid, other than that one win, didn't really do all that hot. They seemed to struggle. I'm not sure if it was the fact that they were playing EG that they struggled so much, or just they had, they maybe had a bad series. They just, I expected it to be a little more competitive than it was, even though they did take a game. Some of the other games weren't as close.
Yeah, I got to watch a lot of this, and I watched it from Snipetown's point of view. And for those of you who haven't seen it, try and go watch it because he was going off. He played very well. It wasn't like absolute crazy monster games, but it was very, very solid play, in like very professional play basically. And he pulled off quite a few very nice snipes, some quick scopes, and some spawn trapping and everything. So very good play from Snipedown in that series. So I recommend watching that. So I would put it more towards EG just playing well rather than Liquid being off their game or anything. And I think that's probably the level they're at, where EG is just better than them. Um, Obviously, Liquid always has the opportunity to upset anybody, or just be maybe not necessarily upset. I wouldn't call it that with every team. Um, but I think this is probably their level, just below EG.
Okay. And then the other game in the semis was Denial versus OpTic. And once again, Denial wins on forfeit as OpTic has internet issues. So Denial moves right into the finals.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's just a very, very easy bracket for them. They play a round one against an amateur team that they're expected to dominate, and then two freebies. So, I mean,
yeah. The
free,
one
free
downfall
money and
here would
points
be
for
that
them.
they as a team had to. I think they were sitting for like 4 or 5 hours without
That's
playing
true.
a match. So
Just waiting.
yeah,
Yeah.
that might not be the best thing for a team to be cold going right into the finals. And I think Heinz might have even mentioned that, but at some point that
Absolutely.
he
I know
you
there
know
was jokes that it was Mikwen's dad that was hitting everybody off, but
I mean it seemed like a denial fan, but yeah, it's all speculation.
yeah, obviously it's not. It's we won't touch on it, but that's not what it is. Just joking that it's a denial fan since they got the free road. But I do agree with you going in cold to a finals, especially a final against EG is not going to be easy.
And then moving into the finals, we have EG versus Denial, 1 versus 2. Um, let's see, we'll just go through quick. Game 1, Warlord Bomb on EG's host, they win 5-0. Game 2, Shrine Slayer on Denial's host, Denial wins 50-40. Game 3, Lockdown King of the Hill on EG's host. EG wins 200-77. Game 4, Shrine Flag on Denial's host. Denial wins 3-0. And then Game 5, Warlord Slayer on EG's host. EG wins 50-19, which was that was a comical game just to watch with that score. But going through all 5 games, whatever team had the host ended up winning, and for the most part ended up winning by a lot.
And, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
none of the games are really all that close, and it pretty much came down to whoever had host. So, it kind of shows that Denial and EG are fairly close talent-wise, and as far as online goes, the host is going to more or less win the games, and it's going to come down to LAN when they compete against each other. But we kind of saw that at Atlanta with Denial taking a series, and it might come down to whatever the game types are to determine who's going to end up winning when it gets there.
Yeah, and what the game times are, but probably more importantly, just whoever's like clicking that day, basically, who's hitting the big shots and making the big plays, because that's the difference between these two teams. That's how close they are. Is that it's going to come down to the little things and just like stepping up and making plays for your team. That's what's going to determine the series between these two teams. Like you said, it was on the host. I know Snipe Down and Lunchbox. I think they were at each other's houses or sharing hosts. So EG had a slight advantage there with dual hosting and getting to host 3 games because they were the #1 seed. But basically, it comes down to these teams are very equal.
Yeah, and that Game 5 Warlord Slayer game, if you guys didn't see it, I would go back and watch it. It doesn't take very long to watch.
Yeah, 50-19.
I think it started off like 8-0. EG just completely killed all of Denial, and then Denial came back up and just got completely smacked down again. And then from there it was downhill, and right around like 40-15 or something like that, the whole Denial roster was just laughing at how bad this game was going, and how low of a score they had. And it was good to see that they weren't taking the loss so seriously, and that they were laughing and joking about it, because when it came down to it, they got smacked that last game.
So what do you call, like, if it's a steaktacular, if it's you win by 20. If you win by 30, what is that? The surf and turf?
I was gonna say, I don't know. Steak and lobster, maybe? I'm not sure.
Yeah, get that surf and turf.
Getting near a naked lap soon.
Yeah, it's a crazy game right there, but and that's not gonna happen on LAN between those teams ever. So, but it is comical, I guess. So yeah, EG wins the tournament, and I continue my streak of being awesome.
Yeah, we'll get to that in just a second. I want to just touch on the consolation
Absolutely.
bracket. In the consolation, we had Active Rush versus Noble, and Active Rush ends up winning their match against Noble to take the one of the 5-6 seeds. And then the other one was WinterFox versus Excellence, and WinterFox ends up winning 3-1 over Excellence. So, excuse me. So this is another series where Excellence takes a game against one of those top tier teams. So as of right now, they've taken a game off of Denial, WinterFox, and EG, and they beat OpTic. So I think it just keeps solidifying that they're not a fluke. If they can keep taking these games off of pro teams, and then they keep practicing, soon it'll be 2 games, and then soon they'll be winning some of these series. So they're doing good.
Yeah, and it's like what they just need to figure out what that next step is, what they have to do to win one of those series against the top teams. Rather than just taking one game, taking the full three games and winning the series. So it'll be interesting to see if they're able to do that. I think that they definitely will at some point throughout the season. So um, it's just interesting, and it's nice to see one of these AM teams really step up and hold their own consistently. Not have the 1 week pushes or the where they do well and then they're gone and you never hear from them again. So seeing them consistently place well is nice, and I look forward to seeing if they can do that for the whole year, and then potentially upset the teams and uh, do well, maybe make some money in the season finals.
Yeah, for sure. So then the results for Online Cup 1. We get EG in first, Denial in second, Liquid third, OpTic fourth, WinterFox and Active Rush fifth and sixth, and then Excellence and Noble taken seventh and eighth.
So
And
the Liquid and Optic, is that do they normally play that? But I'm assuming because
I'm
Optic had
not
the
sure if
internet
that actually
problems.
got played out because of OpTic's internet issues. They may have forfeited. I'm not sure what happened there, but as of the point standing goes, Liquid ended up taking third, which was huge for them points wise. If we look moving into the standings, EG is still in first with 825 with a fairly big lead. Denial in second with 600. Cloud9 365. WinterFox 360 with Cloud9 struggling this week. And not that WinterFox did all that much better, but with Cloud9 dropping, going out in the first round, it allowed WinterFox to get even closer. They're only behind by 5 points. In
Hmm.
fifth, we have a tie between CLG and OpTic, with CLG struggling this week and OpTic doing fairly decent. OpTic has now caught up to CLG in that fifth spot, and with Ogre 2 being on vacation for a couple more weeks, I think OpTic has a good chance of overtaking them before the Indie Land.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And then we have a three-way tie for seventh with Noble, Excellence, and other guys all at 90 points. Reality Check 10th with 60. Annex still in 11th with 55. And then Active Rush 12th, I think, with 50. Unless there's a team I missed, but that's where I have them right now. So then if we look at the three-way tie for 7th, I'm not sure how that's going to be handled for this week's Online Cup, since three teams are all. If you look at it, it's 7, 8, and 9, and if only the top 8 are able to or automatically start in the legendary bracket, I'm not sure who's going to be the odd one out. I'm not sure the tie-breaking procedure. I've heard or read rumblings that Excellence is somehow the odd person out based off of some crazy sort of tie-breaking procedure that I've never heard of before. And that would be unfortunate for them. Like we've mentioned earlier, they've had a strong couple of weeks and they deserve to, get Saturdays off. But, if that's the tiebreaking
Yeah,
procedure, that's what it is. I personally think that all three should just automatically go on and then only take 7 from the amateur side. But, we'll have to see how it plays out.
yeah, that'd make it very interesting. Like, how do you determine once you get to the 8? Do you have to play you'd have to play all the way down basically, or at least you do the next round and then you do a consolation and then another consolation to figure out who the top 7 are. So that would be a challenge to take the top 7. Um, but it does seem like a disservice to any of the teams to leave them out. And I think I read what you were talking about with Excellence being out, and it was something along the lines of how many tournaments, like the average number of points that the roster has earned per tournament, or something like that.
Yeah,
But
whatever it was really obscure. And
yeah,
didn't make much
I'm not
sense.
sure. So, and I believe it was one of the pros posted how the tiebreaker system works, and they weren't a fan of it. I want to say it was like Heinz or maybe it was RyaNoob.
I
Um,
was going to say RyaNoob was the first one
yeah,
that
I
popped
think
into
it
my
might have been
mind.
RyaNoob that posted it, and he said that he didn't like it, and he's not involved, so I would say that's a fairly unbiased opinion. So it will be a shame if Excellence gets dropped out and they have to play um, Team Liquid in the first round, um, or Noble, if they play Noble, they can probably win that one. But against Team Liquid, that'll be another hard challenge for them. I mean, I think they have the capability of doing it, but it will be a hard challenge, and that would be unfortunate for them after working hard to make the top 8 seed and then finish in the top 8 again. So.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to figure out a tiebreaker, I would just go with whoever held the standings the previous week. So I would say Excellence and then Noble should both have it. And then Liquid would be the odd one out because they didn't have the pro status as of last week. But that would just be how I would do it. But what do I know? I'm just a Halo fan and not part of ESL.
I mean, I would probably go that way too. But like you said, it's unfortunate for any of the teams because they have the tied points or whatever. It's hard to determine how that would be. It almost seems like they need to play down 7th and 8th and 5th, 6th to really break down the points even more so that there's less chance of those ties. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So then, as you mentioned earlier, as far as the predictions go,
about me being awesome?
You being awesome, basically coming out on top again, picking EG, and the guest as well had EG. I had WinterFox who did poorly, so maybe, this isn't my type. This whole prediction thing isn't my type of game or cup of tea. We'll have to see how this season plays out. But
I'll let you keep predicting first, and then I can not pick what you pick.
Let's see here. My prediction for Online Cup 3. I'm going to go with Denial.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean they're basically there with EG. I just, I really want to see them win one of these weeks and, take out EG, and I think that would be a huge boost for them, especially if they can do it before Indy rolls around. So I'm going to go with Denial for this week. What about you?
I like it. I like the pick. I'm gonna try and pick a different team every. I can't pick the same team twice in a row, so I can't pick EG.
Oh, Mister, I'm doing so good. I get to implement rules to make it harder while I still win. All right, let's see how this goes.
Yeah, something like that. I gotta handicap myself here. I'm just too good. No, so not picking the same team twice in a row, and you've gone Denial. I'm gonna go with WinterFox then. Didn't work out for you last week, but it will this week for me.
I swear
to
God, if they fucking win, frickin' win. They frickin' win.
Yeah, language, son.
And we don't have a guest pick yet, but I will work on getting a guest pick from probably just one of my associates or something along those lines, and then I will add that in to the score and announce that next week.
Very cool. Or we can make our guest pick from Chroma, who gave us our question of the week.
Yeah, if you want to reach out to him, that's fine with me, and then just update the doc.
I can go ahead and do that. Cool. News/community videos. There was the FIFA match between Dave Stu and Roy, and Roy ended up being victorious. That was a $1,000 match for charity. So Dave Stu donated to the charity of Roy's choice, which is
it's the pancreatic cancer research.
Yeah, the pancreatic cancer, which was for Snipetown's dad. Basically, it wasn't not going to Snipetown's dad, but was in honor of Snipetown's dad, I guess. So, great match, or just in general, a great thing that those two did. If you get a chance, we'll put the link in there for the match as our community video, I guess. And yeah, that was a FIFA match.
They weren't all that close, unfortunately.
Yeah, they played. They played 3.
Yeah, Roy
with
was
Barcelona, Bayern Munich, and Real Madrid.
The better player out on the pitch.
Yeah. The old footy. They should have played with Manchester United. If you can't see, I got the Manchester United jersey on right now and everything. So they should have gone with that. Maybe Dave Stewart stood a better chance.
Yeah, soccer. I am a hockey fan, so actually, I don't follow soccer all that much. And currently, I have the hockey game on my TV right now as we're podcasting.
Right there, if you can see it, I have the Manchester United logo tattoo on my leg.
Lanta. Dedication.
Yes, very dedicated. Let's turn that off. I got a phone call coming in, but we'll turn that off for now.
And then, let's see, the other important news to announce is Excellence is going to have a LAN. I saw Kobe's dad announce that he's going to be hosting a LAN at his house, and the teams are going to be Excellence, WinterFox, and Liquid, and that'll be happening between June 12th and 14th. And they did announce some commentators. I don't have the tweet up in front of me, but there'll also be some people there commentating, so you can expect that someone will be streaming somewheres, and you'll be able to watch it online. It should be good. We'll get a chance to see the rematch versus WinterFox and Liquid, and we get to see how Excellence is going to stack up against these teams on LAN at least, and we get to kind of actually see how Excellence is going to do on LAN in general. So that should be
and Liquid for that matter.
Yeah, I guess for Liquid too. It's all around. It should be a great LAN to watch and see and get some feel for Indy, which will be taking place a couple weeks after that. So it's good timing for them to get some good practice in. But I'm not sure. Is there not an online cup that week? I'm not sure how that's all supposed to play out, but I guess we'll.
Yeah. I thought there was one every week.
I was under that impression too. So maybe.
Oh, you know what?
Landing from, or is that the E3 break?
I think it is. It might be. Let me double check that real fast.
All right. No, it has it listed. E3 break is June. It's the first week of June, weekend of June. It has.
No, because it is it?
Yeah, I just brought up the season 2 schedule.
Okay.
The E3 break is supposed to be the weekend, the June 6th weekend. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I guess they'll probably be competing from the LAN, which might help them because they'll be able to. Whoever is when they compete, they'll be
Yeah, they'll all four right next to each other.
It'll be interesting if they end up getting matched against each other in the actual online cup because
they'd basically be playing on LAN.
Yeah, so that'll be cool to see. So I'm super excited for that LAN, and it's good to see Excellence stepping up and getting involved, and it's awesome to see Kobe's dad, being the big person behind it, and it's nice to see a parental figure like that supporting their child as much as he does.
Yeah, and that's what we heard when talking to Kobe last week, was just how much that his family and his dad supported like him playing Halo and everything, and how much they're now supporting the entire community. So it is really nice to see, and a very big shout out to them, the Yamauchis, for doing that.
Yeah, I'm not going to even bother. I'm not going to try to pronounce it because I'm going to slaughter it.
I think that is either Yamauchi or Yamauchi, something like that. So, but yeah, thanks to them for hosting that LAN. Obviously, we're not a part of it, but the community should be grateful for that. So,
we're not a part of it yet, I think is.
Exactly.
I think
if you need casters, I am available. I live in California.
I was gonna say you're out there.
Exactly.
Take a road trip to wherever he is located.
I used to live like 10 minutes from him, but now that I moved twice. 2 years ago, I lived like 10 minutes.
Moving into the tip trick of the week section. This week I want to, go over the right amount of call-outs. And this is kind of important, and it kind of can depend on both teams. Or not both teams, but just how your team works in general. But one thing I noticed is if you have a team who calls out way too much, it just gets to be white noise in the background. And I was watching... I want to say it was either Denial or Liquid. I think it was Liquid. And it was just like, they even mentioned that they're talking too much. And it gets, when everyone's just screaming, you can't make heads or tails. And if you've ever watched other esports teams communicate versus like any first-person shooter esports communication, first-person shooter is a lot faster. And obviously, so callouts are a lot quicker. It's a lot more rapid pace. And if you're not familiar with the sport, it seems like complete gibberish in general with all the the names and the shorthand for everything. But even to a seasoned veteran, there is a point where it can be too much. So I guess what what would you say would be the right amount of call outs? Like, what should you be calling out, and what should you just let go?
I mean, the right amount, that's very like variable. You want to give as much information as possible to your teammates. So you want to be calling out a lot, but you don't want to be repeating call outs a lot. So saying, oh, there's a guy nades, there's a guy nades, there's a guy nades, there's a guy nades, that can overlap what they're trying to say. So unless that guy is key and you have to take him out to break a setup or to really establish control, or like it's a hill game and you have to get towards the end of the game and you have to get him out or something, whatever. Unless it's an extremely important call, you don't want to be repeating your calls multiple times, because it does is like it just overlaps what your teammates are trying to say. So you want to be very precise with your call outs also. So if the guy's like on Shrine, if he's at Courtyard, there's a difference between Courtyard, Pillars, and Bonfire. They're all very close to each other. And rather than doing a call out like, oh, he's in Courtyard, now he's at Pillars, now he's at Bonfire, you can say he's at Courtyard going towards Bon, or he's Courtyard going to Ring 1. And then that's the call out you need, because it gives the information of where he was and where he's likely going or is going to your teammates. So that's what you want to be doing there. And then as far as just straight call outs. But then there's a lot of communication that many players don't do. The pros definitely do it. And it's one of the big like step ups from amateur to pro level is communicating what you're doing. Hey, I'm pushing with you, or I'm pushing low, you push high, or whatever. Or I'm looking. If I could call out or say, hey, I can't help, back off, or something like that. Those are the types of communications that are going to really take your team to the next level, is if you can do that and really communicate what you're doing, so your teammates fully understand what the opponent's doing and what their teammates are doing, so that they can make the best possible play in each scenario.
Yeah, I would say from what I've seen and watched, the big two are, one, like you mentioned, is don't repeat your call outs unless it's absolutely necessary or it's a point of interest for the whole team. Call them out once and let that be that, unless someone asks again where he was or anything along those lines. Obviously you can repeat if necessary, but try to limit it to one. And then the other thing that I could see being harmful is basically the players who just narrate their entire play. And it's just like it's good to be communicating like you said, and tell them like, hey, I got your help, back down, switch out, things along those lines, head over here, head over there. But people who are just like, oh, I just spawned library, I'm pushing top mid, I'm gonna shoot this down, I'm gonna do that, now I'm here, it's still sitting here, let me know what you guys want me to do. And it's just like, you don't need to call out constantly. Some people think that it's like if you're not saying anything, you need to be saying something. And that is definitely not the case. You want to make sure what you say is being constructive and useful for the whole team, and not just narrating what you're doing. And part of that problem might be from any of the streamers who kind of might get into the habit of doing things like that, as they're trying to explain themselves to their viewers on what they're doing and why they're doing it to try to help out. But once you get into tournament mode, you got to kind of turn that off and dial it back.
Yeah, and the key word there is useful. As long as your callouts are useful and you're not repeating yourself, it's good communication. If it's something that's not really useful, like on Shrine, if you just spawn and your team's pushed up trying to like pull a flag, and you're like, oh, I spawned rocks, I'm pushing into our flag, that's a waste of speaking. Like, they don't need to know that. You're not calling anything out, and you moving from your rocks into flag when they have control of the opponent's base them knowing that doesn't give them any added benefit. So that's something that, like you're saying, like, you need to be, you want to narrate when it's useful. So communicating pushes and like making sure, letting your teammates know that they have help, that's helpful. But just completely narrating yourself is not helpful. So it is a fine line, and that takes some experience. But that's the key thing, is being concise and useful. And the last thing I wanted to point out that can be harmful to a team is calling. And there's actually one particular pro that has a problem with this, but it's calling out people and saying they're one shot or
Smart
they're
the dog.
very weak when and Ninja.
Well, yeah, I would say Ninja, but Spartan's way worse.
Yeah,
Than Ninja.
well, Ninja's been catching himself actually, and has realized that it's a problem that he's been doing. But yeah, when if you shoot someone once, and then you say they're one shot, because your teammate might be half shield and be like, oh, I can pop out and get this guy who's one shot, and then they die because this person's over half shield. So that's the last thing is being. There's a difference between saying weak and one shot and absolute. They're different call outs. Absolute means that it's like you breathe on them and they die. Technically it means
I hate that word.
Yeah, technically it means that if you shoot them in the foot or the body, they'll die. And it's very rare when a player is actually that low in health and shields. But sometimes you shoot 3 times at someone and you think they're one shot, but they have a little bit more than health. More shields than health, but if you know for sure that it's like one headshot, you can say absolute. But really, you want to stick to weak and one shot, or weak and absolute. You don't need a weak one shot and absolute unless they're like seriously just like about to fall over just on their own.
Yeah, and then I guess the other thing that you just kind of reminded me of is don't be negative in the game. If someone makes a bad play or something happens that you don't agree with, wait till the game ends to talk about it. Do not bring it up in the middle of the game. Not only are you, interrupting everyone else's callouts, but you're just bringing the team down and, making the vibe negative, and that could, cause a whole bunch of other issues. So I've seen players like that have that issue as well. I'm not going to name names, but if you've seen it happen, you know some of the players I'm talking about, and that's
I'm gonna name names actually though. For instance, first off, I'm gonna say Roy and Lunchbox. They don't do that, and you saw this in the game that they lost to Team Liquid. I watched the series. The game they lost, you didn't notice it, but until after the game, when Roy and Lunchbox started arguing about what went wrong and why they lost. That is the time to do it, in my opinion.
Yes.
There's other players which probably you didn't want to name names, but Snakebite, who a lot of people criticize for this. I don't necessarily agree all the time, but he gets a lot of flack, and people call him "quote unquote" bitch bite because he's constantly like bitching at his teammates. I talked to him about that, and I asked him what his thoughts on that were, and he said that it's not him trying to bitch or interrupt the game or anything, but his philosophy, and he said that it's the philosophy of his team, is that to beat the teams like Denial and EG, you have to minimize all mistakes. And so they call out the mistakes that they see, like saying, oh, you shouldn't have challenged there or whatever. And to a viewer, it sounds like he's bitching at his teammates, but he said that his teammates appreciate that and that he is communicating those mistakes so that they can correct them. Now, there's different philosophies. He may be interrupting game by doing that, and it may be better suited to do it after game, but and maybe it's not working for their team, but that's something that they've decided is okay, and that they're all fine with. And it's a mentality that, in general, you have to succeed, that you can be criticized without getting defensive. So, and that is important in general, whether it's in game, after the game, whatever. But this is slightly off topic, but you have to be able to take some criticism as well, and appreciate when your teammates do give you that, and realize, hey, if they're telling me this, there's a chance I may be doing this wrong, and think about it, and really like try and listen, So, yeah. But yeah, basically, I think that's the player you were talking about.
That's one of the players. There's others, but what I do want to say is, like you mentioned, if you want to see how it should be done, go back to Online Cup 1 and see if you can see any of the video right after EG lost in that tournament, and the Roy Lunchbox conversation. And they do, like you said, they do a good job of waiting until after the game, and then they have it out, and they're good to go, and they're moving past it. And that's the best way to do it, in my opinion. If you're gonna have it out, do it right after the game. get past it. You know, you're a team. You're not gonna break up over it. Hopefully, especially them as being twins.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen. But you know,
For sure. And
they're
then
a good icon of how that should be done. And then one of the other players who I see have this issue a bunch is not necessarily the issue of just bitching and complaining, but Spartan the dog is one of the most negative players I've ever seen on a team. Like, he constantly will call out, or not call out, but make negative comments while the game's going on. Whether maybe he dies and he didn't think he should have, or he doesn't like the way his team is set up around him and he didn't get the help he wants, and you'll just start hearing this like whine in his voice. And it just seems like he just gets so negative so fast. It's tough to listen to Liquid when they play with each other, just to hear his, the way he communicates, so to speak. And I props to them for dealing with it. Maybe, the pros are better at it than I, but I struggle just even watching the stream.
yeah, no, it definitely something that in general needs to. You want to try and control is your negativity, because your teammates feed off negativity and they also feed off positivity. So the more positive you are and stuff, like, the better. Like, I guess it sounds like a lot of fanboyism, but I think that they're an extremely like well-run team basically. But EG, again, there was a game against one of the games against Liquid that I was talking about when Snipe Down was going off with the sniper. He's sitting in a spot and takes a god nade that just lands on him, and they pull off like this super like slim window of a headshot on him. And rather, like, you could easily get pissed about it because it was like he probably shouldn't have died. The only way he could have died was that impossible god nade in the very small headshot, like in a very tight window. And he could get upset and frustrated about it. Instead, he was like, wow, what a nade, and then just like went on with his day. Mm-hmm. And so, like, yeah, you can take those bad kills where you're just like, wow, that's kind of BS. But if you can shake it off quickly and then move on, you're going to be better off for it, and your team's going to be better off for it.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe that's, on top of EG maybe having the best teamwork and the most talent, they also might, from what we've seen to have been just discussed, they might have the best communication strategies as well, and might, prelude to why they are the #1 team right now.
Yep.
All right, moving into the question of the week then. Last week, I believe it was Chroma, mentioned he wanted us to talk about games where you're behind and what's a good way for... probably, we'll stick to just Slayer to not get too off topic, but in Slayer games, if you're behind, what do you do to, try and get the lead? You'll see a lot of teams... be like, slow it down, just chill. In my opinion, and maybe you'll differ and you'll have a better answer than me, being a previous coach and stuff, but I think that's one of the worst things you can do. I do agree that you need to kind of slow down for a second just to regroup, but almost all the pro teams, if you're going to slow it down, are going to be fine, and you're not, you're behind in kills. Slowing it down is not going to bring back that gap. You have to, in my opinion, you're going to want to kind of maybe stop for a second, regroup. But the more frantic and the more you can keep your opponents off their toes, the more chance you're going to be able to have of coming back in that Slayer game. And if you're just going to slow it down, they're just going to be prepared and set up to stop you. And so I don't necessarily agree with the slowdown strategy that everyone seems to adopt.
So, from my perspective, it is more, when they're saying slow it down, it is more what you're talking about, where it's really a regroup. A lot of times what happens in the Slayer games is, like, when you hear this, the slow it down, or any type of game type, when they say slow it down, you're starting to get disorganized. And the team starts, some players are going this way, some are going that way. You're on a terrible spawn cycle, you're just randomly pushing, you're trying, and it just gets to be frantic to where you're just like trying to pick up like whatever kills, and the other team, and it usually happens when the other team's more set up than you are and has more control of the map than you do. And when that's the case, you do want to slow it down so that you can get it even again, where you each have control of part of the map. Or so on lockout, if one team if you start to get behind and you slow it down, regroup, you can organize a push to go together rather than continuously like running out ones and twos and like lemmings jumping off the cliff basically. And so that's what slowdown generally means to me at least. And so in regards to the question, it really depends on if you're on red or blue, or like what side of the map you're on. If you're behind and the opponent has red, there's two different scenarios. Either they have red and a sniper, or they have red without a sniper. If they don't have the sniper, I think your best bet is to stay at blue. Just slow it down, stay at blue, and then try and get the sniper when it spawns. If they have sniper, you're going to be in a little bit of trouble. I'm not going to lie. If you're down and they have full setup on red with sniper, you're probably in trouble. But if what you're going to want to do probably, you're going to want to get somebody over to blue at least. And then that person needs to stay alive long enough to be able to put a couple shots into window and weaken them without being back down themselves. So they need to like position themselves so the top BR or open ramp isn't going to be able to shoot them while they're putting shots on window. And once window's back down, you want to have guys push under bottom so that they can't see the push coming from bottom. And then someone's still back at snipe trying to hold back anybody at top BR. And then the two guys bottom, maybe one has a shotgun and that could take out a potential sword player or anything like that. That's probably, in my opinion, the best way that you're going to be able to push a library side spawn or a library side setup while they have sniper. Like I said, very difficult, but that's the way I would go about doing it. On the reverse side is if the other team's at blue, like if you're losing and you're stuck on library side, I think that what you're going to want to do is have someone, you're going to want to get 3 people in library, like 1 on closed bridge, 1 at BR3, and then 2 in library, really. And then the top BR and closed bridge are going to want to try and put a couple shots on snipe 2 and get them to back down. And then the people in library put shots on top blue, like the top of the lift, and get them to back down. And then the closed bridge and the 2 in library are going to try and sneak across and go up, jump up across top mid while everyone's back down momentarily and push across top mid. Ideally, you're going to want to try and time this with when you think a sniper is coming up. Maybe you had one and lost and dropped it, or you know the time or anything. That would be ideal so that you could potentially get the sniper, or at the very least get it, throw it off the map if you're going to die also, but get it and potentially run it back towards BR side.
Yeah, another thing you can do there, if the sniper drops and you just, for whatever reason, you can't get the push over that you need,
time your grenades.
Yeah, you can nade that sniper down. And I played a match recently against a pro player. Actually, he was on the opposing team, and it was almost that exact setup. I think the game was tied at like 40, and one of the players on our team saw the snipe come up, knew that we couldn't push across, and he just naded it, and the sniper fell down to right to top mid, almost right below where the snipe 3 hang is, and it was basically just null and void. Neither team could push to it because the other team had a complete, the top mid's not a place you're gonna be able to get very easily for any period of time, let alone get it and then be able to get back. So it just basically caused the sniper to stall out and allowed our team to end up pushing and winning, knowing that the pro player was pretty good with the sniper wasn't able to get it, and it was going to hinder the team and allowed us to end up winning the game, which was cool.
Yeah, basically, I guess the too long didn't listen in this case is you want to have one player kind of distract and you figure out where the optimal pushing spot is, where you're going to be able to push the shortest amount of distance, because the longer you're out in the open, the worse. So you don't want to if you're pushing library side towards library side, you don't want to run across top mid because it's very long. And likewise, if you're pushing towards snipe, you don't want to run bottom mid because they can see you the entire bottom mid from snipe 1, where if you're pushing top, you can just go from library to S3 pretty quickly. And so you want to have one or two players knock down the shield and make the person that's watching the push area back down and then immediately push at that moment. So you have to have communication with your teammates to be able to, execute it effectively. But that's the gist of what you're going to want to do. And then if you can, time it with the power weapons as well.
Yeah, and then just to loop back to our, kind of original point and what you mentioned earlier, when we say the word slow it down, it doesn't mean to stop the game altogether. And I do see that way too often, even with some of the pro teams, that if it'll get like 10 to 15, they'll be down by 5 on lockdown, and they'll be like slow it down, and then nothing will happen for 5 minutes, and that's not helping your team get back by doing nothing. Slow down means sit there, regroup.
That's not helping.
Yeah, sit there, regroup, and push. Get a strategy push. Don't just sit there. That's
yeah.
That's not what we
You
mean.
have to be careful because it's better to be down 5 and wait 5 minutes and wait for the optimal time to push rather than be down 5 and just be like, now's good enough, and we push, and now you're down 8 or 9. You know what I mean? So you want to make sure it's the right time. If the time isn't happening, it doesn't hurt you to wait a few more minutes. Like, you want to keep putting a couple pot shots. Maybe the other team starts to run out of BR ammo, and that's the optimal time. Those are things that can happen. Or you're just waiting for the next sniper or whatever,
Yeah, I mean,
So
I understand what you're saying, but I can't think of any scenario where you should actually wait 5 minutes.
No,
and to
you
wait
don't
down.
want
And
to wait
but
5
yeah, I've
minutes.
seen that time and time again. So it's just like, I don't know. You want to slow down if you have to, but slow down definitely doesn't mean just stop the game altogether, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't mean stop the game, but you also got to be careful because when you slow it down, you have to have a coordinated push because when it's slow, if you don't push coordinated, you're screwed. So that's the one thing. Like, you really have to be coordinated if you're gonna slow it down like that. But just an example, like I had a game actually on lockdown the other day, and we were down probably 4 or 5. It was like 41 to no, it wasn't that much. It was like in the 30s. It was like 30 to 36, I think. We were down, and we were at snipe side, and we just hung out for a minute, basically slowed it down and waited. And I was able to pick up the sniper when it spawned. I was able to sneak up, grab it, and get down with like almost no shields. But once I did that, we had a sniper, and I was able to pick off a couple players. So we were only down like 3 at that point. And then the other team just started, they all hid in their library basically to where they wouldn't poke their head out for me. And that gave us an opportunity to push. Once they decided, they're like, okay, we're just going to keep our head back because we don't want to like lose our lead. And then we were able to push and ended up turning the game around. We ended up tying the game. But that can be a case where you do slow it down enough, wait for the weapon, and then use the weapon, which opens up a pushing opportunity for you. Where had we just keep running out against them with sword and BR control, we would have surely lost the game.
Yeah, that's a great example there of when to wait, how long to wait, and then what to do once the time comes.
Yeah, and like I said, we waited maybe 45 seconds to a minute for the sniper to spawn, not 5 minutes, because we were running out of time actually. So I had to get a couple shots real quick, and then after that, it was like, hey, they're not poking their heads out anymore. Now is when we push. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much the question. Hopefully that did it for you, Chroma. If anyone else has questions, go ahead and you can email them to us or tweet at either of us as well, or leave them in the comments on YouTube. So
for sure. With that, we'll move right into the closing then. If you have any comments or questions, like Phade just mentioned, send us an email to 4shotpodcast@gmail.com. That's 4 is in the number 4, shotpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you guys. Any feedback, questions, comments, anything along those lines. If you have a question you want us to discuss, feel free to let us know. If you have any comments that you weren't able to save during our live show, or if you have any feedback to help us improve, we would love to hear it. With that being said, Phade, do your closing.
Yeah, I mentioned it. You can also tweet at us. My Twitter is here on the feed. For those of you watching, if you're listening, it's at FadeFade, and you can those PHs in the Fade. So you can tweet me there with any questions you have. or if you just want to play, because I'm playing HCS or like Halo now and everything, now that I'm finished moving and everything. So you can tweet me there questions for the podcast or playing. So hopefully I hear from some of you guys.
Yeah, and I am Phelan, Fail, the number 3N. You can follow me on Twitch and Twitter. If you want to hit me up on, HCS, my gamer tag is Phelan, except with a PH instead of an F to start with. So, I'm always looking for people to play with. And, even if you're not that great, I'm not worried about levels at this point. So, if you're just looking for someone else to play with, feel free to hit me up.
You can play. He'll carry you. He goes in the open bracket with one person as well. So
yeah, pro strats with Phelan is EXO, and I often like to talk about it. So yeah, feel free to hit me up there if you guys ever want to play. With that being said, do we have any other plugs that we missed? Anything else to mention, Phade?
Not this week. No interviews for you, unfortunately, but. And that won't be an every week type of deal, but we do look forward to having some more players, whether they're pro or amateur, coming on and talking with us. So you stay tuned and continue to listen, because we will have those exclusive interviews.
Awesome. With that being said, then, we will end the show. Thank you, everyone who showed up live and listened. Thank you, everyone who is going to listen to this on YouTube and iTunes. Make sure you subscribe and hit all those fun buttons and stuff along those lines. And thanks for listening. Have a good week.